Hey everybody, today we've got another community poll recap. This is number 7. A lot of great feedback, a lot of great results. So let's switch over to the community tab and let's see what you guys think on the polls that are at least 1 month old. So here's where we left off. This time we've got, what is your opinion of Jeff Bezos, however you want to say it. Maybe we should do a poll about how you pronounce his last name. But nonetheless, this guy is not popular at all. Only 2% very favorable, 3% favorable, 34% neutral, 30% unfavorable, 31% very unfavorable. Now there's a lot to hate about Bezos. I think envy alone is enough to cause a lot of people to dislike this guy. And you could put a positive spin on it. You could point to some donations he's made, some job opportunities he's created, maybe a couple policy positions you like, and I have not done full research. But I think more people are going to gravitate toward negative work quality environments, some form of tax evasion, hoarding all the assets, just an overall distaste for the accumulation of his wealth and power. Having that much in one person does give him an inordinate amount of control over the economy, and his range of influence is pretty much endless. So we'll leave it at that. I understand a lot of negative sentiment toward Bezos. Next question, how important are the results from the Durham Report? 54% very, 14 moderately, 7 slightly, and 25 not important. I would say this is at least moderately important. I know the Republicans go overboard and say this is the most important thing of all time. The FBI and criminal justice institutions have been corrupted, and I know the Democrats say there's absolutely nothing to see here. Trump is a criminal. It all makes sense. So I try to isolate out the two extremes. There's probably enough here to be concerned about, and if the roles were reversed, then both parties are going to flip their opinions. Republicans are going to downplay it a ton. Democrats are going to overblow it a ton. It's easy to get burnt out on this kind of thing. I know the Durham Report took a long time, but I don't think there's nothing of interest there. Next, 2024 trend margin for president in Texas compared to its 5.58% GOP margin in 2020. The results here look like it's going to swing toward the Republicans. Only 5% think 3 or more percent toward the Dems, 16% 1 to 3 for the Democrats, 11% think it's going to be about flat, but 27% think it's going to tilt toward the GOP, 1 to 3%, another 40% think it's going to swing toward the GOP by 3 or more percent. These things are tough to predict. As I always say, it comes down to the national environment, but is it going to get down under about 5.5% compared to last time? There is a possibility. It wasn't that long ago the state was voting hard for the Republicans, so maybe it does have a little bit of a bounce back by a couple of points, but the days of it being double digits for the Republicans, those might be over for now, but I'm a little surprised to see the results going that far toward the GOP. Next question, how far will Ron DeSantis go in the GOP primary? This was right after he got into the race. 7% think he's going to drop out by the end of the year, 15% drop out early in the primaries, 67% think he's going to drop out late in the primaries, 11% think he's going to win nomination. This I'd agree with. It would be completely embarrassing if DeSantis drops out before the end of the year. He's in a strong second place right now. It seems like he's at least going to get into the primaries. He could go late into it. These seem like reasonable results to me. Next question, chance Donald Trump participates in Republican primary debates. 40% very likely, 17% likely, 25 50-50, 14% unlikely, only 5% say very unlikely. So about 57% think he's going to do it, 19% think he's not going to do it, a quarter are in the middle. As of now, it seems like he's unlikely to do it, if not very unlikely. Maybe it's all a ploy and he does get into it, but all the indication seems to be he has so much of a lead that he does not need to debate. I understand why he wouldn't want to. If you're on the top, you don't want to jeopardize it. But as a service to the voters and for the process, I'm strongly in favor of seeing a debate. And plus it's Trump, he does love the media attention. People get to see him in action again. A lot of people probably want to see the zingers. I'd like to hear policy proposals. Either way, seems like he's not going to do it, but we'll see what happens. Next question, what is your opinion on legalizing doctor-assisted suicide? 16% strongly support, 24% support, 15% neutral, 10% are opposed, 35% are strongly opposed. This is definitely a debatable, ethical, moral question. There's not a simple answer to it. There's some great comments here. You get reasonable people on both sides. It seems like more people are in favor of if the patient is terminally ill, as opposed to someone that's just down on their luck and doesn't want to live anymore. But I do understand wanting to have appropriate safeguards in place so people are not pressured to save money or coerced into it by anybody. That's legitimate. And not to go too far into what I think, but I've never never been a fan of thinking that someone should be forced to live. I think that is your own personal decision. Some doctors might be uncomfortable doing it. That's understandable. But I do think there should be some avenue for people, certainly in a terminally ill sense, for them to go out with some dignity in a way they see fit. So good question, good results, great comments. Next question, 2024 swing for president in Alaska compared to its 10.1% GOP margin in 2020. This one is a little bit split. 19% think it's going to go toward the Democrats by 3 or more. Most of you, 35%, think it's going to go toward the Democrats by 1 to 2.9%. 13% think it's going to be stagnant. 13% think it's going to go toward the GOP by 1 to 2.9. And 20% think it's going to swing back toward the GOP by 3 or more percent. I like asking the questions to see what people think, but it's very tough to predict. Alaska has certainly trended toward the Democrats. They have ranked choice voting now. That's going to complicate things. Republicans are at least likely to carry the state. Could it get down under 10? Yeah, it's possible. Could it bounce back up to 12 or 13 points? Probably, but I'm torn on this. It does depend who the candidates are. If it's Trump, it's definitely more likely to go down under 10. Let's go on to the next question. How concerned are you about Joe Biden's age and or mental fitness? 56% very, 19% moderately, 15% slightly, 10% not concerned. I try to ask these questions as neutrally as I can. That is important to get fair results. And I think most people that don't like Biden are going to say very concerned. Most people that do like Biden are going to say not concerned, maybe slightly concerned. The real key on this one is to find Biden supporters that are moderately or very concerned. And what do I think? Well, I don't think there's any chance I can be not concerned. Once you get over 80, it's not necessarily a problem. But I think I've seen enough video, enough speeches where there's enough moderate concern. I don't know if it's extremely serious yet. It certainly could be worse, but a lot of the media is going to do some cover there. Or maybe it's not as bad as it seems. The little moments like tripping, that I think could happen to anybody. Not a big deal if it's infrequent, but I do think there are some concerns about mental acuity. And just for comparison, I asked the same question about Donald Trump. This has 32% very concerned, 16 moderately, 14 slightly, 39 not concerned. I kept the wording the same to try to compare the results. Much less concern here for Trump as far as age or mental fitness. Now you could interpret mental fitness in different ways. A lot of people that don't like Trump are going to say he's completely unfit for office, he violates all the norms, etc. But as far as mental acuity or awareness, it does seem like Biden is much worse. Trump has a lot more energy, and it makes sense that these results are more favorable for Trump. Now, Trump is a little bit younger than Biden. Maybe that's a factor. We'll have to see how these two do over time. And the last question here is, what is your opinion of Kamala Harris? Only 3% say very favorable, 9% favorable, 19 are neutral, 16 unfavorable, and the majority, 54%, very unfavorable. I know a lot of the mainstream media and the liberal establishment, they really like Kamala Harris. They think she's been treated unfairly. They're way too into her identity, and it's tough to imagine a scenario where they don't like her. But most people are not a big fan. We've all seen the weird laughing. We've seen the speeches that don't really go anywhere. It is easy to make a compilation of someone's worst moments. It happened all the time with Trump. Sometimes that is unfair. But as far as the vice president goes, it doesn't really seem like there's a lot to be excited about. There are way too many awkward moments, and I think there would have been a lot more better choices than Harris. I haven't really heard about much success. It's usually more the awkward moments, and far too often I hear scrutiny is only due to her identity. I disagree with that. Far too often I think praise is given to her identity, but that's a recap of the polls that are at least 1 month old. Got a lot of great comments on here. Sometimes I respond. A lot of times it's just fun to see everybody go back and forth. Sometimes I completely agree or completely disagree with some of these comments. Most of the time it's in the middle to some extent, but I like this one about Harris, extremely favorable. I would guess that's definitely one of the 3% that voted very favorable. And hey, sometimes you have an opinion that goes against the grain and you're in the clear minority. I'm sure most of us have a couple of views that are not very mainstream at all, but what can you do? Try to stick by your principles, defend it when you can, and be willing to change some of it if new information comes up. Hope you enjoyed this poll recap. Really appreciate all the votes and all the results. Got over 700 on this last one. That's great stuff. Let me know in the comments. Do you like these polls? Do you like the variety? I try to be neutral about all the questions the best I can. Let me know your thoughts down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.